So, how on earth does a group of farmers who were literally mocked for being hopelessly in debt end up driving luxury cars and living in giant mansions? Well, today, we're diving into the incredible story of how one of India's harshest deserts became home to a group of agricultural millionaires. Our story starts not with success, but with a pretty brutal struggle. Just imagine working your land day in and day out, only to be taunted for your crushing debt. For farmers like Hamaram Chaudhary, this was his reality. Farming was a gamble against nature that, they were constantly losing. Okay, now hold that thought, that image of crushing debt, and look at this number, 250 crore rupees. That is over 30 million US dollars. And that's the combined annual turnover of the farmers in that exact same village today. So how did they go from insults about debt to turnovers of this magnitude? That is the mystery we are here to solve.
So first, let's just take a look at the incredible result of this whole journey. What we're talking about is the rise of a brand new class of entrepreneur, Rajasthan's farming millionaires. No, this is not a fairy tale. In a village called Guda Kumawatan, just about 40 kilometers from Jaipur, the landscape is now dotted with massive mansions and, luxury cars. And these aren't some businessmen from the city. These are the very same farmers who were once trapped in a cycle of poverty. They've completely rewritten their own destinies. To really, truly appreciate this success, you have to understand the monumental challenge they were up against. This wasn't just farming. This was a high-stakes gamble against nature itself. The conditions they faced were just brutal. I mean, think about it. An arid desert landscape with soil like loose sand. Add to that scorching temperatures hitting 50 degrees Celsius, and all the usual risks like crazy market swings. The average Indian farmer's family earns just over 10,000 rupees a month. For these guys, it was a daily battle for survival. So they had a choice: keep doing things the old way or find a new one. They decided to ditch the traditional weather-dependent farming with all its high risks, and instead, they went all in on a high-tech, climate-controlled model that promised high, year-round yields. It was a total revolution in how they thought about farming. And at the heart of that revolution was one single piece of technology, the thing that created this agricultural wonderland right in the middle of the desert. It was the polyhouse. So what exactly is a polyhouse? Well, think of it like a supercharged greenhouse. It's this big structure covered in a translucent material that lets you create a fully controlled environment inside. Temperature, humidity, irrigation, you control everything. And that means you can grow high-value crops all year round, totally protected from that harsh desert climate outside. Now, this idea didn't just come out of nowhere. Back in 2012, a few of the pioneering farmers were sent on a government-sponsored trip to Israel to study their advanced desert farming techniques. They saw with their own eyes how technology could make the desert bloom, and they came back totally fired up, ready to create their own mini Israel right there in Rajasthan. Here's basically how it works. It's a very scientific, step-by-step process. First, they prep these raised soil beds. Then they plant the seeds, but the real magic is step 3, drip fertigation. It's a system that delivers a super precise custom mix of water and nutrients right to the roots, which means almost no waste. And finally, they use nets, foggers, and curtains to constantly manage the climate inside, keeping the plants in their perfect, happy place. And the results? They are absolutely staggering. Just take tomatoes, for example. In an open field, a farmer might get, 250 quintals per hectare? Inside a polyhouse, that number skyrockets to 2,000 quintals. That is an 8-fold increase in productivity. It's not really farming anymore. It's more like manufacturing vegetables on a factory floor. Okay, an 8-fold increase in yield is amazing, but this tech has got to be expensive, right? I mean, it can cost over 50 lakh rupees to set up just 1 acre. So the really big question is, do the numbers actually add up? This is where government policy becomes a huge part of the story. Through something called the National Horticulture Mission, a small farmer can actually get a 75% subsidy on the polyhouse. This just crushes the upfront cost, bringing the net investment down to around 11.6 lakh rupees. Suddenly, this high-end tech is within reach for an ordinary farmer. And now for what might be the most unbelievable number in this entire story. With that subsidy, how long do you think it takes for a small farmer to earn back their entire investment? The answer?
is just 9 months, less than a year to pay off the whole setup and start generating pure, straight profit.
To put that in financial terms, the internal rate of return, the IRR, for a small, subsidized farmer is a whopping 133%. To give you some context, a really good stock market return is maybe 15–20%. A 133% return it's almost unheard of. It's an economic grand slam. You can see it right here in the numbers, the massive advantage for those subsidized small farmers. And yeah, the investment is still super profitable even without subsidies. But this data makes one thing crystal clear. Government support was the rocket fuel that ignited this entire revolution. But individual success is one thing. Creating a sustainable community-wide miracle is something else entirely. It turns out technology was only half the equation. The other half was teamwork. See, to scale their success, the farmers used another really powerful tool, the Farmer Producer Organization, or FPO. An FPO is basically a company that's owned by the farmers themselves. It lets them pool their resources and act as a single powerful unit in the marketplace. And the benefits are huge. By buying things like seeds and fertilizer in bulk, they get much lower prices. By selling all their produce together, they can negotiate directly with big corporate buyers and get way better rates. It totally transforms them from a bunch of individual producers into a single organized business. Strength in numbers, right? And that is exactly what the farmers of Guru Kumawatan did. They formed their own FPO, they called it AgriGlow. This organization let them consolidate their gains, increase their bargaining power even more, and manage their booming business as a collective. So here's the crucial takeaway. The Rajasthan miracle wasn't just about one thing. It was the powerful combination of two key elements: cutting-edge technology, the polyhouses, and smart organization, the FPOs. Together, they created a self-reliant and sustainable model for real prosperity. And that kind of brings us to our final thought. The story of Guru Kumawatan is way more than just one isolated success. It's a blueprint. It's proof of what's possible. And it leaves us with one really powerful question. If farmers in a desert can do this, what's possible for the rest of India?